Hello, Loving Without Boundaries community. Kitty Shambliss here. Happy Tuesday to all of you. Whoever's watching, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're a part of our community, whether you're in the larger group or some amazing human that I've had the pleasure of coming in contact with in some of our smaller client-based groups. So welcome. I have a real treat for you here today. We are going to be doing a story of hope and transformation with an amazing human being named Laurel Schrock, who I've had the pleasure of getting to know for the past few months. And I'm sure we're going to meet in person at some point very soon. So Laurel, thank you for agreeing to do this awesome interview.
Thank you, Kitty. It's such an honor to be here. I really appreciate you believing in me so much.
100%. You're amazing. You're amazing. And so folks that may not know Laurel, she's actually already been on my podcast, partly because as we were working together, a little bird told me, meaning Laurel, that she was doing a side hustle with making candles. And she had these amazing unicorn fart candles that she was creating during Pride Month and giving the proceeds for her local LGBTQ plus community. So she's actually been on the podcast. So feel free to check it out. I don't recall the actual number, but it's recent. So Laurel, I'd love it if it's been, just such an honor working with you and seeing your wins and your successes and hearing your giggle and seeing your smile. But I'd love it if you just introduce yourself in your own words to anyone who may not be familiar with you.
Oh, okay. Well, hi, I'm Laurel Schrock. I'm a network engineer for Verizon. I live in New York. I work in New York. Let me see. What other? I'm an Army vet. Also, like Kitty said, I have a little side business as a candle maker, which I really consider a profitable hobby, but it's something that I absolutely love. I had previously identified as monogamous. Throughout working with Kitty, I've made many, many, many epiphanies and self-discoveries. And I know that I don't consider myself a monogamous person anymore. Starting to date other people, and polyamory, I think, is much more of a better fit for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it's such a far cry from where you were when we first started working together. And even our podcast interview, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that was at week 4 of working together, and you introduced yourself as monogamous. And I think it was 1 week later, you told me, you know what? I might be polyamorous.
If it was even a whole week later.
Wow. Yeah, maybe it was just that 1 week later. I don't know. But maybe you're right. Maybe it was on the midweek call just a few days later. So I just can't wait to share your journey, your transformation, and just to help inspire those that are listening, because there's a lot of people in our Living Without Boundaries community who they're posting every day about some of the different struggles that they're having. They're writing in there at 3 o'clock in the morning and somebody help me, I'm reaching out for help. And so I'd love it if you just start out by telling everybody where were you at when you first reached out to me?
Oh, it was a mess. Oh my gosh. For 2 weeks prior to reaching out to you, I had spent in the arms of my partner, crying hysterically and not understanding why, struggling with what I could only say was jealousy. He has other partners besides me at the time, one of whom I'm very good friends with. So to say that I was jealous of another partner it just wasn't clicking. I didn't seem right, but that's the only answer I had. But finally, after that second weekend, one night I was home. I that whole day I couldn't eat. I was distracted at work. I was crying hysterically in my own bedroom in the dark. 2:45 in the morning. I remembered bookmarking your website long ago when I first started researching polyamory. And I think I had actually looked up poly-friendly therapists, and you came up that way as well. But I just went right to you. And I think you got an email me scheduling an appointment probably at 2:46 in the morning on May the 4th.
Yeah.
May the 4th be with you.
Yes, that's right.
And I even showed up to that first interview with you. Not only the first group chat, but that first interview with you. I had a box of tissue sitting right over here, which is not here today. Thank goodness. Because I had spent the whole night crying. So I figured what was going to keep me continue crying. But talking to you, that first conversation was like it was such a relief seeing that I would be able, that I met someone who could possibly help me. Didn't know at the time that you were actually going to succeed, but
Wow.
I had no, I mean, obviously I'm the one that had to do the work, but
Yeah.
Working with you has just been amazing. And I'm a different person today as a result, and a much happier one, I think.
You really are. And it's such, as you said, I view the work that I do where I'm a guide, I'm a conduit, right? I can lay the path out for you and show you your strengths and your wins when you can't see them. But it's really you that shows up and does the hard work. But you've got a support system around you. You've got me there. And it's just been so beautiful to watch you blossom and grow, and your smile just get bigger and bigger. Your smile like lights up a room. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
It really does. So I thank you for sharing that. And I do remember that first call, and I remember just, what a bad spot you were. And you were just really, desperate for answers, desperate for help, weren't sure if there was any. And looking back, since you kept saying too, that you weren't sure if it was jealousy, that was just the only name that you had for it. What do you think might have been a underlying issue that maybe you can Monday morning quarterback, so to speak, now of a deeper thing that was maybe going on for you?
Oh, that's an easy one, actually. It was all in here. It was all my own insecurities. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it at the time. Steve, he would ask me questions occasionally because I had self-deprecating humor that was probably to the point of it just wasn't funny anymore. I was always putting myself down, and then I would giggle about it. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that he was right. My self-worth was and I just didn't see it. I wouldn't acknowledge it. I would always say, "Oh, what are you talking about? I love myself. I have a great life." Okay, but yeah, there were issues there, and it was because of doubting that not necessarily that Steve could love me in addition to other people, but maybe that anybody could love me at all. I wasn't so sure how I felt about myself. And some of that had to do with relationship issues between me and my mom, things to do with me and my coworkers and my boss, and all of which have been addressed throughout this entire program that you've been updated on regularly during the weekly calls. And every time I hit a new, I don't know, I made a new breakthrough. And I remember one time I even mentioned something about not a confrontation, but it was nonviolent confrontation with my boss. And I brought it up was like maybe the third thing in sharing. And you're like, you waited this long to
forgot. Yeah. It's just like who you are. You just learned all these tools. You were practicing them all the time. And just that became who you were. Yeah, that's awesome though. But yeah, that's what's so great about doing this amazing work that I get to do, is to kind of highlight, and champion you where you don't see like how you're succeeding, and see how, you're applying everything and learning and stacking on what you already have learned. So I really, really honor that. And it's just been beautiful to watch. So, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of people that are watching can relate to, or listening, can relate to that sense of low self-worth and insecurities. I mean, we're human beings, right? Like you've heard me say a million times at this point that, fish swim and birds fly and humans human. we all have doubts. We all have insecurities. It probably just makes us human, but a lot of times we can spiral down and it can all get worse, or you can learn how to get tools to have that confidence in yourself, have that superhero tool belt. So, so love that you just really moved into this work and applied it every single day, and you still are. And one thing I'd love to understand is maybe before you reached out to me, what were some things that you had tried? I mean, you certainly said you tried talking to your partner. What were some other things that you tried to get to the other side of this and move through it, and not have to buy stock in tissues?
Well, a lot of this occurred during lockdown. So having communication, obviously internet and telephones and texting was there, but the thought never occurred to me to try to reach out for professional help, unfortunately, until I got to that point where I was just broke. I felt broken. But prior to that, thankfully, I mean, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, not self-harm or anything like that, but I mean, I was a mess. And thankfully, one of Steve's other partners that I've mentioned to you many times, Mira, such a wonderful, beautiful friend. And I value her in my life. I can't even measure it. And she's been poly all her life. That's all she knows. So that was the wonderful learning tool for me. I mean, as far as understanding the feelings that I had, because she's heard it all before. She's felt it herself, whether poly or not. You don't have to be monogamous to feel the things that I was feeling.
Right.
And she was pivotal in just listening to me and understanding and not trying to tell me what to do or anything like that. She's never done that. And I give credit where it's due. Steve too. I mean, being incredibly patient, knowing that he's dating someone who identified as monogamous, and he's been through it when he first started to identify as poly. And as helpful as they were, I couldn't depend upon them to be my therapists,
Yeah.
And there were things going on in my life that I just didn't know, and they didn't know to ask. So that's where you came in.
Yeah. So I definitely hear that. And one thing I want to highlight is I think there is this stigma sometimes about reaching out for professional help, but it's kind of crazy in a way, because we all get, if we break our leg, we'll go to the hospital. We're not going to go like wrap it up with some toilet paper and hope that our leg's going to get better, right? We'll go to the hospital, we'll see the doctor, and why don't we, there just doesn't need to be the stigma around our mental and our emotional and, our spiritual health. It's okay to ask for help, and it's also a sign of strength. So I really, I honor you for reaching out for help. And it's only been a couple months, and, again, you're like smiling and giggling and just in such a different place, which is so amazing. And anybody can get there too. So I really love that. And you said, in terms of how you first found me, it sounds like you did a search on Google and I came up and you bookmarked it. You happen to remember that several months later?
You came up twice, actually. It was initially probably close. I want to say maybe 2 years ago when Steve and I first started dating, and I wanted to understand more everything that I possibly could, because I didn't want to depend on him to just tell me his version, because I know everybody views things differently, and I wanted to understand. I mean, I knew polyamory was a thing, but I want to understand it more. Plus, I was like, this is a person that I'm very, very interested in getting to know better. And I wanted to understand him and where he was coming from. And then maybe a year later, earlier this year, probably around January, February, when I started to feel a little, like starting to wonder if maybe I should reach out for professional help. And I was like, well, if I do talk to a therapist, I need to talk to someone that will understand my relationship and not try to put it down or tell me that I was being wrong or that my partner was wrong. And so I researched poly-friendly therapists, and there you were again.
Oh, that's so funny. And you even remembered it from a year before. That's so funny.
Yep.
And you didn't, at that time, you didn't join this community. Is that right? The Loving Without Boundaries community. It was just kind of doing your research.
Yes.
Yeah, doing your homework. That's awesome. And just to be clear for anyone listening, I am not an actual therapist. I'm a certified relationship coach. And, but I have articles that compare the difference between when is a good time to get coaching versus when is a good time to get therapy, and how those two can work in tandem, and to understand the difference on my website. So that's why it sometimes comes up in Google searches. But yeah, and it's a great, and very briefly, so as a coach, you can often be helping by seeing being like an objective person in somebody's life and their relationships, and help them see blind spots that they're not able to see, help cheerlead them along the journey, give them tools to optimize their emotional well-being as well as their relationships. And there can sometimes be overlaps with different modalities of therapy, but they too are two very different things. And if anyone's curious about that, there is a blog post that's on my website that talks about that. And there's certainly a time for therapy. I'm very open about that. There's been different times that I've definitely sought out therapy, and I work with many coaches. I believe if you're going to have a coach, if you're going to be a coach, you need to have a coach. So I actually work with different coaches in my life as well. So I believe in coaching. I also believe in therapy. So it really comes down to finding the right professional for you. So I'm so glad, Laurel, that you had the wherewithal to reach out, bookmark it, and say, I remember this. And then, had the guts, if it does take a little bit of guts to book the call. Did you feel it took that at 2:45 or 46 in the morning?
I remember I had my phone in my hand and I'm like, let's do it. Okay.
That's awesome.
It was the best decision I think I ever made at 2:45 in the morning.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
It's the best decision I made, no matter what time it is.
Anyway, so
what was that?
You didn't buy Ginsu knives.
No, I didn't buy anything. I was no shopping that day. So
that was just getting on my calendar. That's all it was, just getting on my calendar. That's awesome. And so when you did either the right when you did sign up or in the beginning, was there moments where you were skeptical, or you were like, is this going to work for me? Did I just join a cult? What's this all about? Go ahead.
No, I didn't have any thoughts like that. I of course didn't know if anything, part of me was like, all right, I don't really know what I'm getting into. But at this point, I felt like I was at rock bottom. So the only direction I had to go was up. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, as far as thinking, no, I didn't think I joined a cult or anything like that. And going back to, even though I had done a search for poly-friendly therapy, your website is very, very clear about that. So I understood. But
oh yeah, that's good. That's good. And I just don't want to, especially for people that haven't been my website, I don't want them to think I'm claiming to be a therapist if they're not familiar with my work. But one thing I'll add, just in case you don't say it, I do love that when you came to your very first Q&A call, you said that you kept your box of tissues there because you didn't know if it was going to be like a bunch of people crying. And I remember, I forget if you said at the end of that call or maybe later to me, you said, that actually was pretty fun. I didn't know that the calls were going to be fun.
Oh God, after that first one, I was like, okay, I'm going to look forward to this twice a week. And I wasn't able to make each and every one of them because, work, but even if I was only able to stop in for maybe, a half hour or so on the ones where I was at work, I enjoyed every one of them. I had so much fun at getting to know everyone else in the groups and new people graduating and new people coming in. It was great.
That's amazing. And it's just incredible to see that combined energy of people learning side by side who have similar values, who are interested in personal growth, who are interested in living their best and most authentic life. And I just have a belief that playfulness and that kind of jovial energy, it's a great environment to learn. So anyone who's watching the video, that's my vulva puppet in the background. Sometimes we would bring to the calls, because why not make learning fun, or why not help somebody create that safe space by also making it like a playful space? Because breakthroughs don't have to be, bad. They're amazing. So I love that. So what would you say, Laurel, were some of the incredible results you started to notice maybe just in the first few weeks of you applying yourself, showing up on the calls, practicing what you were learning? What were some of those immediate things that you noticed?
Oh, immediately, the stories that I was telling myself that were nowhere near being true.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Going through a lot of the modules and journaling. Oh my gosh, did I write and write? And I still do. I've not. That's a habit, a beautiful habit that I picked up, and I absolutely love doing that now.
Nice.
It's so helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, the story, the lies that we tell ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves, the wobbles, the brain weasels, the breezels, whatever you want to call them.
Uh-huh.
um, Being able to take a step back and ask myself, okay, what part of the story I just told myself is, what evidence do I have to support it? And I don't know if I ever did that before. I just
Mhm.
told myself the story and believed it and went on with it. And, a lot of good that did me.
Yeah, and again, it's so human, right? Brene
Mhm.
Brown talks about how we're meaning-making machines. Like as humans, we want to write a story. If we have a negative feeling, we want to write a story about why we're having that feeling, But we can. I love how Dr. Joe always says it's important to start thinking about what you're thinking about. Because
Thoughts
our
about
thoughts
thoughts.
create our reality, right? And they can create our wonky feelings, and we can self-sabotage ourselves when we don't even know we're doing
Mhm.
it. So I think that's really powerful that you were able to learn that right away. And that's even in like the second week of working together, we start doing that. But it's a theme that we keep going back to again and again and again.
Mhm.
All of us, myself included. Yeah. What were some maybe a little bit more through the program? What were some of your either your big epiphanies or some big moments of change for you?
Ooh, I think the first time I tried meditation,
Mm-hmm.
um, going back to like helping also with the stories that you tell yourself, being able to take a step back and just try to be calm and step outside of that box that you're that excuse me, that I shoved myself into, and really taking a look and, oh God, it sounds like such a cliche, but actually, taking a look at what I've done to myself, whether it's in my head or it helped clear out the fuzziness that I had or that I had been
Mm-hmm.
experiencing of all that noise, of all the crazy things of Steve doesn't love me and he's gonna ditch me for someone else. And even if that did happen, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but I was making it seem like it was.
Yeah.
And trying meditation, even though at first I was like, oh God, really? But I tried it and I was like, wow, this really, it helps me. I was so calm after
Mm-hmm.
that very first time, and
Oh.
that has actually helped me a few times since then. Fortunately, I didn't apply it one really big time when I needed to, but we'll get into that later.
Mhm.
But it is very helpful.
Yeah, and my husband is a very data and numbers guy,
Mhm.
and for in week three, you folks that do work through the program with me, you do meet a doctor, kind of like a scientist, who talks about why meditation is so powerful, backed by science and backed by research. And I introduced my husband to that work, and he is hooked now. He meditates for, I kid you not, like 45 minutes, sometimes an hour and a half a day now. And he just said that it has changed everything for him, which is really amazing. But not just any meditation. Like it's important to like learn the right way to do it, the right intention. So I love that you just showed up with that beginner's mind. And that's partly why you had all that success, because you were just a sponge. You're like, yeah, give it to me. Give me all the good stuff. So I really honor that. And then we did our podcast midway through the program, which is you stepping out of your comfort zone and showing up in courage, which is so amazing. And for anyone who's listening, that it might be helpful for, what happened to bring about that epiphany when you realize that, wait a minute, maybe I am polyamorous, so maybe I want to look into that.
Oh gosh, what brought that about? Well, I had maybe about a year ago, like at the beginning of lockdown, Steve had a an account on a dating website and was very open. The man shares everything with me.
Mhm.
So he, told me about it. He even showed it to me, even showed me, well, he obviously open. He's like, I'm partnered and they know I'm here and they even see my profiles. Like, share. He's like, oh, I've been chatting with this person and we're probably going to, meet up for dinner, once, 6 feet, social distance kind of thing
Mhm.
back then. But, he's like, you could always, it's like, during lockdown, it's a great way to make friends, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting way deep into that. Anyway, I had created a dating profile, even linked with his.
Mm.
Mine clearly stating at the time that I'm monogamous and I'm just here looking for friendship and blah, blah, blah. So, but not too long after our podcast, I went back on the account and, God, like 700 messages.
Wow.
That was what I remember. Just like, I was like, whoa, okay. I mean, I know most of that is just people seeing a picture of somebody they think is cute and then they keep going.
Yeah.
But not reading too much into it, but just started to chat with people and talking with Steve about it, and he's like, that's great. I was overwhelmed by the support and love that he had for me, wanting to, encouraging me to do what I can to help me be happy, which I thought was
Yeah.
amazing. And I was like, well, maybe there is something to this compersion thing after all.
That's awesome. When you were like also receiving it, you got to see it
Yeah.
and be like, oh, this is pretty cool. That's neat. And then you started to go on a few dates and you're like, wow, amazing.
Yeah, I've only with one person, and it is just friendship. It actually made that very clear from the beginning that my profile states it very clearly. I was like, okay, I'm not necessarily seeking a romantic relationship, but I understand anything with anyone can happen.
Yeah.
But I actually wound up meeting a man who is really, really cool. And I don't know if it'll ever turn into anything, but that's totally fine because I made a really good friend so far.
Yeah.
And for me, friendship is definitely 100% important for anything else. I need
Yes.
that.
Yes, absolutely. For anyone who's listening, that might be helpful. Which were the apps that you found got you to that place? The dating.
The dating. What I'm using, this is a OK Cupid.
Oh, okay.
It seemed to be the most inclusive as far as gender identities,
Mhm.
sexual orientation, relationship style. I haven't really tried any others in years, only because it seemed like, okay, you're either single, divorced, widowed. That's it.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I'm okay with that.
Well, good. I'm glad that that's how I met one of my partners. I think I told you. So I met my husband on Match.com back when I still identified as some sort of monogamous,
Mhm.
and then I met my other partner on OkCupid. This was
Okay.
6 years ago. So they had just introduced the non-monogamy option. And then in my profile, I just explained I'm a happily married polyamorous woman and, kind of took it from there. But I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed that. Yeah, good. So I'd love to just for folks to just kind of understand the breadth of this work. How would you describe where you are now on your journey after you've been at this for it's probably been what, like 10 or more weeks now that we've been working together and still continuing to do some things together. But yeah, where would you describe yourself now?
At a crossroads, really,
Mhm.
as relationship wise. A few weeks ago, I had a big wobble, and it wasn't insecurity. I don't think. Well, first of all, it happened to be Steve and I were together one day, one weekend. We usually spend most weekends together. We're out having a great time. It happened to be a day of day drinking. And sometimes, alcohol and emotions aren't the best mix. And I'm 50 years old and starting to head into a time of my life where hormones are all over the place. So, well, that sideways way of saying that I'm perimenopausal. So I'm getting to that point, but
Mhm.
no excuse, but it still has an impact. Uh, we did have an argument. Um, anytime we've ever had disagreements or discussions, we've always been able to speak about them calmly and resolve them one way or another. And this was probably the first time where I fully admit that I was being an asshole. I really was. That's, no, that's the easiest way to describe it. I really was. I was in my drunkenness, hormonal, whatever, uh, emotional state being unreasonable and not even letting the poor man finish sentences at some point. And it got the best of me, and I broke up with him twice in maybe a half hour. Because the first time, oh, I'm laughing about it now, but the first time I was just like, I started crying after I said it because I think it took us both by surprise. Like I was like, I don't think I could do this anymore. I think we're done. And we were both kind of like, what I just said? You know?
No, just happened.
And I started crying, and we calmed down there for a minute. And he's like, okay, tell me exactly how you feel right now about what you just said. And I'm like, I didn't mean it. And he's like, okay. He's like, maybe the best thing for us to do is, it's getting kind of late. We've had stuff to drink. We should sleep on it, get some rest. We both need it. And of course, I didn't let it go. And I should have listened to him. I should have done what I've done in the past, got up, the practice of meditation, but I wasn't in the right frame of mind, unfortunately. And I broke up with him a second time after some very unpleasant words from me, which unfortunately caused him to say some unpleasant words as well. Anyway, the next day, once we both I had gone home. Once we had both calmed down the next day, he was just like, I'm glad that you got home safe. Wasn't the wisest decision I ever made in my life, but what's done is done. And hopefully I never, ever do anything that's stupid again. But anyway,
well, even on this call, I want to invite you. I'm getting my little gavel here. First, I just want to honor you for so vulnerably sharing, because again, we all can relate to that. I mean, we're not perfect people. We're all imperfect, and it's about learning from the mistakes. We're all going to fall down and do things that we're not proud of. That's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
It's really about honoring that. And by you sharing it here, you're helping lots of people, and you're also showing grit and resilience and courage. Totally. So I invite you to drop the gavel and
I have one here.
beating yourself up. And we've also talked about that just before. Like, what would you say are some of the gifts, the hidden gifts in that? Like, what did you learn from that experience? Well, hindsight is 2020. So it's definitely not to beat myself up about how I behaved and things that I said. I can't undo them. I did reach out to him maybe 24 hours later. After that initially, he's like, I need time to process. You need time to process this. Maybe it's not a bad idea that we step back and realign. It's okay. But a day later, I had to let him know that there was in no way did he ever do or say anything that warranted the behavior that he had received from me. I wanted him to know that, for knowing his own relationship history. I didn't want him to have any doubts that maybe he had done something that brought it on, because he definitely didn't. And he was actually very, very grateful that I told him that. He's like, I didn't really think so, but one never knows. So thank you so much for that. So, well, that just shows. I was just going to say, that just shows it's such a gracious way to handle that. You did sleep on it. You did wake up and you did see, okay, so I'm not perfect. Something happened and I'm going to own it. I'm going to take responsibility for my part, and I'm going to step up to the plate. So that's amazing. That takes a really courageous and strong person. And you wouldn't have had it received so well if you didn't do it with such grace. So that's clear.
And he is a really, really good guy. And my opinion, no one deserves behavior like that. But this is a person that I love with all of my heart, and made me feel really shitty to treat him in such a way. So, I'm the only one that can forgive myself now. And I just don't like the way I did it, but
yeah,
whatever. No,
well, we all learn, right?
Moving on.
Yeah. I mean, I share with you, I mean, there are different, we're not going to be like strong superheroes every single second, every single day. There are going to be moments where we're not our best selves. Right. And so, I had a moment where, I had a couple glasses of wine a few months ago, and I realized that kind of gatekeeper in my mind that watches those thoughts that come through my head had gone gonzo, right? So it happens to everybody. It's more about, we are humans. We are going to fall down. We are going to do things that we wish we didn't do. It's really, how do we resolve it? Do we stay in like guilt and shame, or do we realize that guilt and shame doesn't serve us? And then we just, apologize when we need to apologize, take what we can learn from that, and forgive ourselves, forgive other people sometimes. And sometimes that means forgiving other people even when they haven't given us an apology, right? But that's amazing that you were the person who did give an apology. So that's awesome. It says a lot about you. And it also just says a lot about whatever's in store for you. And look at all you learned. You learned a ton, just like I did with my bout of that having too much wine that one night. So and it's not like there's anything like evil or wrong. It's just realizing like what your recipe for success is. And so you saw, okay, when I mix A and B and C, that doesn't go well together. But when, when I put these three things together, that goes well together. So that's amazing. And it takes a ton of courage and guts to be here and share that story. So that's some of the best podcast interviews I've done are when somebody comes on and they share a vulnerable story, sometimes about something that they weren't super proud of. So that's amazing. And you're paying it forward too. You're paying it forward by sharing that story with other people, which again, just says a ton of amazing things about you. And I really, really honor that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Since then, I mean, gosh, it was only 3 weeks ago that it happened, but my emotions have been changing daily about how I feel, because I wanted to discover where, I did it twice in one night that I broke up with him, alcohol or not, those words came from somewhere. So I knew I had a lot of thinking to do about, trying to figure out why was it that I was so unhappy, because it wasn't all, even though I know it was all from in me, but there were still some things I needed to find out about myself. And the one thing that never changes, and the one thing that has remained constant, is that he's my friend, and I miss my friend. That's regardless of whether we continue to have a romantic relationship. And I still need to try to discover if that's something that I want as well with him. I know 100% with all of my heart that I want him in my life as my friend. He is my best friend. And I definitely learned that in the process. The time apart made me realize just how much, God, I fell apart earlier today. It's funny because I'm a techie person, but he's the one who set up my whole Wi-Fi setup at home, and including my phone and my printer and everything else. And I think I went to go print something this morning, and I had all of these errors show up on my phone. I'm like, and all of a sudden it hit me that Steve is the one that did this, and I just started crying. Oh. And I was just like, because I can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, Steve, can you help? What did I, it turned out I just turned the Wi-Fi setting off on my phone, but I fixed it right away. But that was today's realization. It's like, I really, really miss my friend.
Oh, that's amazing realization.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's such a great learning. Like we sometimes take situations for granted. Sometimes we take people for granted, and we, it is cliche, quote unquote, but it's so true that sometimes we don't realize how much we value something until it's not necessarily there. I mean, the great thing is that it's not like, Steve got hit by a truck.
No.
Steve's still alive. So there's a lot to be grateful for. And who knows what's ahead for you and for both of you. So you have done such amazing internal work, and also just how you're showing up in the world, how you're showing up in your relationships, your desire to keep learning and to keep growing. I mean, that's going to get you so far. And I so honor that. And I'm delighted to speak to you today and to get to share your awesomeness with everyone that's here. So, so I guess maybe anything else that you'd like to share just about your overall experience in the program, and would you recommend the Jealousy Survival Guide, Creating Happy, Healthy, Open Relationships program to anyone who might be watching who's maybe struggling?
Oh gosh, yes, 100%, 150%, yes. Well, like I say, even I mentioned that, this obviously was very helpful with me making discoveries about myself and my own romantic relationships, but it also was very helpful. The tools that I learned in communication helped me with my relationship with my mother, helped me with my relationship with my boss, at work. There's just so much. I can't even put a value on everything that I've learned through all the work that I've done with you. So yeah, that's a very long way of saying absolutely. I recommend the program for anyone who might be on the fence.
Thank you so much. To me, that's what it's all about. I love what I do. It's such a privilege and an honor to serve this community, because I just have a belief that when we improve our relationships, we really improve our whole lives. And like you said, it doesn't just have to be our intimate relationships. It can be our familial relationships, our business relationships, our friendships. So absolutely everything that you learn can be applied across the board, including the relationship with yourself. And so I love seeing you just shine. And obviously you've changed from the inside out and you just glow. It's amazing to see.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just for anyone listening, if you are struggling, whether it is with jealousy or something you're not even sure how to put your finger on, or insecurities or low self-worth, and you are either monogamous and possibly in an untraditional relationship with somebody who identifies as consensually non-monogamous or polyamorous, or if you are working towards opening up a relationship, or if you're just trying to live your most authentic life and maybe you're feeling some shame or some guilt trying to find out how to move forward, it all starts with just that initial call that Laurel was talking about earlier. And that you can go to lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. And you can check out different things on my website. We've got testimonials there. This video will be there eventually with Laurel. And that link will just take you into my calendar. You just find a time that works for you. And then there'll be a very short form for you to fill out. And that gets sent just to me and helps me prepare for our talk so that I can serve you to the best of my ability on that call. And we'll just talk about what are you struggling with and where do you ideally want to be. And if I think I can help you close that gap, we can talk about different ways to work together to do that. And if we're not a fit to work together, that's totally okay. I'll do my best to steer you in the right direction. At this point, my Rolodex is really big. Any other final things that you'd love to share, Laurel?
Just to touch a little more on, even it doesn't even have to be for romantic relationships. When you said that my relationship with myself, stepping outside of my comfort zone has become a regular thing for me ever since that podcast. I mean, starting with dance lessons and dating and even doing this interview. So yeah. I am so grateful for all of the help that I've received working with you. It's just been amazing.
And now you have me in your corner too. So I love just getting to know you, or, you're not even that far away. So I have no doubt we're going to meet in person. So that's the thing too. Like once you become part of this family, you're part of that family for life. I like to say you're never alone unless you choose to be. and, you know, growing and learning and being the best person you can be is a hell of a lot more fun when you do it with other rock stars who are on a similar journey with you. So I really honor you, Laurel. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. I love chatting with you and celebrating you and all of your successes. And I can't wait to see what's in store for you, because I know that this is literally just the beginning. So excited for you.
Thank you, Kitty. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, so if anyone would like to book a call, that's just again at lovingwithoutboundaries.com/apply. And I wish you the very best. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful week. And we have another case study tomorrow, a success story with Roger. So if you'd like to check that out, come join us tomorrow while we're speaking with Roger, who has another amazing story. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Bye.